Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Ramo Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Ramo Ramo. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Ramo Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Nitai hey, 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 Nitai hey. Oh Jaya Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari. Oh Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe, Jaya Ram Ram Mohan Radha Mohan Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Garangagan Habe Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Sachinandana Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astautar Sarashishi Machila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astautar Sarashishi Machila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astautar Sarashishi Machila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Omasta Uttara Sarashishimat Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Shila Gaudakishoras Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Rupanuga Guru Variga Ki Jai, Ananta Gauda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Gauda Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Aginatimirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantamana Petyam Apetikriyam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tammayata Yotarvo Benedustam Sarvabhutam Munim Vridim Munamanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radam Aravinda Netram Smarami Radam Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radam Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanasti Katyena Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Naimam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Shila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto our beloved Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Shila Bhaktivedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada. And unto our most beloved Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gauda Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, and all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Hare Krishna. So coming again to our Jaiva-Dharma and going through the Falshruti, I was commenting today how we've been through for perhaps 3 months, 4 months now, and every time I personally read it, I appreciate a different, or the same meaning, but just more significant. So I think we're all probably getting very familiar with this Falshruti now, and I think that's very good because it gives us the whole sequence of the Jaiva-Dharma. So from verse 1.
Prithviyate
Prithivite yata kata
kata
dharma
dharma
nama
nama
chale
chale
bhagavata
bhagavata
kahe
kahe
sabha
sabha
paripurna
paripurna
chale.
chale. As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, second shloka, all the philosophies on earth that are celebrated as dharma are utterly deceptive.
Practically, this first verse sweeps away everything except the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu manifested his teachings and his desire to give Rag Mag Bhakti Loke Karite Prachan to the world, then these four Purusarthas, actually that began with Vedavyas 5,000 years ago when he was feeling despondent. And Narad chastised him, oh, you're just speaking Gyan Kand and Karma Kand, these four Purusarthas, but you haven't enumerated the fifth Purusartha, Prem. So Vyasadeva wasn't familiar so much with that. So he was granted that benediction, even though he's Shaktivesh avatar. But still, his awareness of that hadn't been manifested, hadn't become inspired until Narad triggered that awareness within him. And then he gave him the vision of specifically the 10th canto. And when he saw the conclusion, the fifth Purusartha, Prem, then his whole vision transformed to give the jiva this indication towards Vrindavan and Braja Prem. But that could never be manifest because after Vyasadeva left this world, Krishna leaves the world and so on, then Kali Maharaj becomes very ruthless in this age of Kali. And the sadhaks generally, the Ramanujas, the Madhvacharyas, these were the personalities. Actually, they began in about 1035 and 1100 is Madhvacharya. And prior to that, there were the Alvars of South India, and they were described as men of great wisdom and knowledge in their dedication to the Lord. But it was principally, it wasn't focused on Raganuga. This is not what was actually being propagated to general people because it's such a sensitive issue. And without the conception of Parakiya, this Raganuga practically doesn't exist in the same fashion that we describe it today in Vrindavan, the Vrindavan pastimes. Without Parakiya, there can be Sambandha Anuga we were talking about yesterday, the pastimes of the Sakas and Yashodama and Nanda Baba, etc. But the pastimes of the gopis, that's very much only when Parakiya is appreciated can those pastimes manifest for the sadhak to appreciate. Parakiya must be there. So this wasn't given. So these dharmas that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is referencing here, dharma, artha, kata, moksha, are utterly deceptive because they're taking us away from Braja Prem. They're taking us away from the fifth Purusartha, which is Prem. For the jiva, in this age, we have this opportunity to come to this place of a very high level of appreciating the relationships between the Brijvasis in principle. Okay. Chale dharma chadikara satya dharma mati chaturvarga tyajidhara nitya prema gati.
One should completely abandon such deceptive dharmas and observe his mind in true dharma. In other words, one should give up the fourfold goals of material life dharma, artha, kama, moksha and aspire solely for the ultimate destination of Nitya Prem.
So this current of Nitya Prem is running through every single chapter. Every single chapter we could highlight from the very beginning, especially the first chapter. My Gurudev has described that out of the whole 40 chapters in Jaiva-Dharma, the first 4 are the most important. And out of the first 4, the first 2, because they're laying the foundation, the platform of the entirety of our philosophy. And out of the first 2, the first 1. Within the first chapter, everything from A to Z of our spiritual path is described. When Babaji is indicating particularly to Vaishnav Das, silence the monkey kakati. He's sitting in his meditation in Nishanta Lila. We're entering right into the Astakalya Lila, right in the very first chapter, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making it clear where he is going with this doctrine, with this book, with this Jaiva-Dharma. Very clear. So the first chapter is very important. This Nitya Dharma, it's running everywhere.
अमित्वामिमं
Brahme
सभ्रमे निज
nija
जड़
jada
बुद्धि
buddhi
निर्विशेष
nirvishesha brahma
ब्रह्म ज्ञाने
jnana
न
ichita
चित
buddhi
शुद्धि.
shuddhi.
Those who are deluded identify themselves with matter. That is their error. However, one cannot be purified of such delusion by endeavors for Nirvishesh Brahmagyan.
If Brahma Gyan merging into the Brahma Jyoti is not going to give the jiva his highest optimum gift in this birth. Just simply not possible. Nirvishesh Brahm is like we described yesterday, it's like Shantaras. That Shantaras is like neutrality. It's not the Shantaras of Vaikuntha, and it's certainly not the Shantaras of Goloka Vrindavan. That Shantaras is just a um, it's called Shantaras, but it's referencing the neutrality of the soul. He doesn't want to engage in direct personal relationship. It's an impersonal zone, we can say, the Brahman, Nirvishesh Brahm. And people take shelter there because they're actually intimidated sometimes by the directness of the personal um, opportunity for relationship with Krishna. It can be intimidating for some souls because the heart has to open fully to actually reach its conclusion. It can't be closed in any regard at all. It has to be fully opened in the purest sense.
Ivichitrata hina hale nirvishesha hoy, kala matulya seya aprakrita noy. The Mayavadi thinks Sri Krishna to be subject to the limitations of time, such as birth and death, and considers that he is not transcendental.
Yeah, he's not appreciating the transcendental nature of Sri Krishna. He's putting his own material conception. It's like the material scientists. They try to make an estimation of the universe without listening, using their defective instruments, etc., and then come to some conclusion and propagate that all around the world. And then the whole world actually follows those scientists, etc., and thinking, oh, yes, that's the truth. But then you look in the fifth canto, it's completely different. So their defect is extraordinary, the Mayavadis.
Thus, he rejects Sri Bhagavan's Vichitrata, astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia, qualities, and Leela. Through this vicious attempt, he is left with the philosophy of Nirvishesh Brahm.
That's tragic condition, Nirvishesh Brahm.
Kandagyana hoye dharma ache sunishchaya, prakrita hoyle kabu aprakrita naya. Such base and contemptible gyan, which arises out of an attempt to dismember the divine form of Bhagavan, is only fit to be rejected. It is prakrita, materialistic, and should never be given credence as aprakrita dharma.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur is so strongly um, purifying our vision for this Jaiva Dharma. What is its conclusion? Its conclusion is Nitya Dharma. Its conclusion is not supporting these four worldly purusarthas, which we see all around us in the world today, that mankind is only interested in his economic development because he thinks that more sense gratification will come from that. And if he's not interested in that, then moksha is his goal, nirvishesh brahm. So without this very selective, rare knowledge, and we should consider our immense fortune being exposed to this knowledge, and as much as possible, we should try to propagate this knowledge wherever it is possible. Wherever we hear a sympathetic ear is listening to this knowledge, then give them all these truths. Okay, so now we come again to our 21st chapter. And yesterday we were speaking about the Jnani Bhaktas and the Jnanis.
Hmm.
I was explaining about that. So we did some research into looking in the Bengali edition, and it seems to say Jnani Bhaktas also. So Personally, I'm at a loss for this because there's such a distinction between a Jnani and a Jnani Bhakta. Otherwise, how can we distinguish? But perhaps there is another terminology that I'm not aware of. But when we're describing Uddhav, for example, and Bhishma Dev and Jad Bharat, they are not Jnanis. They are not on the path of empiric knowledge to actually merge into the Brahmajyoti. They are bhaktas, they're devotees. You could say a Jnani Bhakta in the sense that he's devoted to the Brahmajyoti. So in that sense, that makes sense if you're considering it like that. But I've been taught from the very beginning that a Jnani and a Jnani Bhakta, there's a distinction. But perhaps in some circles, a Jnani Bhakta, it doesn't have that same distinguishing quality, because Bhakta means someone who is devoted. That's what the term bhakti means. It means devotion. So if someone is devoted to Gyan, then they can be devoted to the Gyan of the Brahmajyoti. But I think, like Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he gave us the terminology of Brahman rather than Brahm. And we'll see all the way through Jaiva-Dharma, it's referencing Brahm. It's not saying Brahmanand or Brahmanand. It's Brahman rather. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was trying to make it simple for Western people to see the distinction between Lord Brahma and Brahman as being the Brahmajyoti. So it makes it very simple for Western people. When they read Brahman, we know exactly what it's talking about. When we read Brahm, sometimes the devotees aren't quite sure until they pick up the familiarity. So in the same sense, perhaps the word Jnani Bhakta has been kept traditionally there for those Jnanis who are devoted to the Brahman, are worshipping there. This is the only thing that I can reconcile in my mind personally. But normally, we normally reference those Jnani Bhaktas by the knowledge that they have is the knowledge of Krishna's Aishwarya. Just like Uddhava, when he goes to Vrindavan in the 46th chapter of the 10th canto of Jaiva-Dharma, and he sees the desolate condition of Nanda and Yashoda. Yashoda Ma, she hasn't washed any pots or anything. She's just sitting. She can't even shed any more tears. She's completely become mute, practically, from separation from Krishna. Nanda Baba is able to actually socialize with Uddhav, so to speak, and he's communicating with him. And Uddhav doesn't know whether to congratulate Nanda Baba on his great devotion to Krishna or to lament with him, commiserate with him, because Nanda Baba is an extremely lamentable condition, missing Krishna. But Uddhav says to Nanda Baba at this very emotional time for Yashoda and Nanda Baba, actually, you know, Krishna is not really your son. He's the supreme Brahman. This is actually who he is. And Nanda Baba is thinking, oh, what's this man? He may look very intelligent, but he's not so intelligent. This is what Nanda Baba, he's my son, regardless of anything else. And Mother Yashoda couldn't even entertain the fact that Krishna was the supreme personality. This indicates the height of their Braja Prem. But Uddhav, because he has this knowledge directly of Krishna's supreme Aishwarya, knowing that Krishna is, in fact, the supreme personality of Godhead. He's seen Krishna in so many instances of his, he saw Krishna killing Kamsa. This demon, Kamsa, the immensity of his demonic qualities we should appreciate, he had defeated all of the other demons. Keshi, Bakasura, Agasura, Putana. Putana he made a truce with, but every other demon he defeated Kamsa. That's how big a demon Kamsa was. And then Krishna, just a little 16-year-old cowherd boy, killed him effortlessly, like someone might kill a mosquito or something like. And Krishna also killed Chanura. Balaram also, in the same young teenage body, killed Mustika. So this is actually what I'm relating, part of the appreciation of the nature of Braj is when we come into the Leela aspect, because the Leela aspect, the Aishwarya consideration is really submerged by the sweetness of the Leela. When we, as sadhaks, go deeper and deeper into the Leela descriptions, especially, of course, of Krishna and the gopis, then that Leela takes precedence over the Aishwarya. No Aishwarya in those appreciations of Krishna and the gopis. Very, very little. Sometimes the gopis, they, in their separation mood, only in their separation mood, they perceive Krishna as the supersoul. Like in Gopi Geet, Nakala Gopika, in the fourth verse, it's saying that Krishna is the
Super,
super
super.
soul, saying like that. And also in the Pranaya Geet, that is a very unique Geet because they are in the presence of Krishna, but still they're feeling this mood of separation simultaneously. And then they see him for a moment, like the super soul. But in actual activities with Krishna, they never ever see him like that. But Uddhava does. So this is Aishwarya Gyan. This is the Gyan that we understand is represented by the Jnani Bhakta. This is how we term it generally, except in this particular instance when it's saying that the Jnani Bhaktas merge into the Brahmajyoti. So I haven't been able to fully reconcile that description, and it's saying like that in the Bengali too. So all I can conclude is that in different circumstances, the words are indicating different meanings. But I think for us to go forward, we should appreciate that a jnani is someone who performs Astanga yoga and different yogic processes directly with the intention of achieving the Brahman. We should consider that this is a jnani. That will simplify it, at least for Western devotees. Very simple. And a jnani bhakta, like Bhishmadev, etc., they have great devotion to Krishna, but they have devotion to Krishna's Aishwarya aspect. So the gyan, the knowledge, relates to their understanding of the Aishwarya aspect, the majesty aspect of Krishna's personality. So we ourselves can make this distinction still. I think it's very helpful because I've only ever read it once in this particular place about a Jnani Bhakta wanting to go into the Brahman. But I think I have to address it because it's there and it would create a imbalance if I didn't understand what it means. But it's saying this in the Bengali. So that was the limit of my research yesterday, but if I get newer information, I will share that. But in the meantime, I think we should consider a jnani, a yogi, and a jnani bhakta, those persons who appreciate Krishna's Aishwarya. Yes. Okay, so I was describing that yesterday. And then we came to the aspect of um, Sambandha. Oh no. And
492. We are
for,
at page number 492,
yeah,
Maharaj.
I think halfway.
Second.
As the sun's rays and the sun.
No, no.
Oh,
We stopped
the two kinds of
uh,
jivas.
from
Okay.
there.
Okay, go from there then. The two kinds of
Two
jivas.
kinds of jivas reside in Siddhaloka. Those who have attained perfection
Siddhas.
through the cultivation of knowledge, Jnana Siddha, and Asuras who have been killed by Sri Bhagavan,
So these jnana siddhas are like what I just described, the
Yogi.
jnanis, because they're perfect in their knowledge of Brahman. This is what was said in the previous paragraph. This is what you were linking up with yesterday. So they are considered jnanis.
Hmm.
And now here the reference is called jnana siddha.
Jnana Siddha.
So it's just changing the terminology. And asuras who have been killed by Sri Bhagavan.
Amongst these Jnana Siddhas, some who are extremely fortunate become the ashraya of Rag, abode of attachment for Krishna, and they worship his lotus feet and thus obtain the ultimate aim of Krishna Prem. In this way, they gain entry into the group of Krishna's dear associates.
That's not easy to understand that part.
Maharaj, this sentence is also a little confusing. In this way, they gain entry into the group of Krishna's dear associates.
Yes,
What does that mean?
I'm trying to appreciate this now, because this is indicating that there is um, liberation, so to speak,
Hmm.
from the Brahmajyoti. And we have understood from my Gurudev that if one person merges into the Brahmajyoti, then the only salvation for him is if a sadhu comes through that area, Narada Muni, etc., and the dust from their lotus feet reignites that living entity's desire for affection. Because at the moment, the consciousness in the Brahmajyoti is without affection for any object. It's like self-affection. That's what nirvishesh means. It's not focused on the form of the Lord. So here it's saying that in this way they gain entry into the group of Krishna's dear devotees. So I'm having a difficult time understanding this, quite frankly. I just read this again. Amongst those Gyan Siddhas, some who are extremely fortunate become the ashraya of Rag. That means the abode of Rag for Krishna, and they worship his lotus feet. In other words, they become influenced to take shelter of the personal form of the Lord. So, how that actually transpires, I'm unsure. I don't know that right now. I will have to really think about this because I don't know. It's not what I've understood before. For Krishna, and they worship his lotus feet and thus obtain the ultimate aim of Krishna Prem. So, if one is coming from that Brahman, because we've described the Jnana Siddha. Where is he residing? He's residing in the Brahman, right? We've established that. That's fixed.
Siddha Loka.
Siddha Loka.
They've
So
here
Siddha
the
Loka is a little different from the Brahman. The Siddha Loka is the planet of the Siddhas, the realized souls. That Siddha Loka is on this side of the Viraja River. It's on the material side of the Viraja River. So if from that position in Siddha Loka, rather than Brahman, yes, that was what I was personally getting. I was thinking Siddhaloka at Brahman, but no, Siddhaloka. Then they still have the opportunity.
Maharaj, you see this? Two kinds of jivas reside in Siddha Loka. They're not saying about the first line. It's about not Brahma Jyoti.
Yes, two kinds of siddhas reside in
Not
two kind of jivas
huh.
reside in Siddhaloka. Those who have attained perfection through the cultivation of knowledge, that's Gyan Siddha, and asuras who have been killed by Bhagavan. That's Sarupya Mukti. That's merging into the Brahman. That's where Kamsa is going. Kamsa merges into the Brahman. We just said it in the last paragraph. It's called Sayuja Mukti. Sayuja Mukti is the type of liberation that Kamsa attained. He merged into the Brahman. Agasuras, same. These asuras, they merge into there. Now it's coming that there are two types of jivas in Siddhaloka. So Siddhaloka is separate from the Brahman, and of these two, the asuras are one consideration, but the Jnani Siddhas are another. Amongst these Jnani Siddhas, it's saying, not amongst the asuras, amongst the Jnani Siddhas, some who are extremely fortunate become the ashraya of Rag. So we can just accept this face value that in Siddhaloka, these two types of jivas, one are the asuras who have attained that place of residence through their merging into Krishna, through their focusing on Krishna, like Kamsa. And the others are Gyanis, who have by knowledge come into this region of Sitaloka. And then some of those most fortunate Gyanis in Sitaloka, like the four Kumaras. We hear the four Kumaras in Tapaloka. They actually hear about Krishna in Vaikuntha, and they actually can, by their mystic potency, journey all the way to Vaikuntha, and they go through the different gates of Vaikuntha. But they come to the final gate. They don't actually come into Vaikuntha fully, because they don't have the adhikar for that yet. They come to the seventh gate, and the seventh gate they're checked by Jai and Vijay. And then that whole pastime takes place, and then Jai and Vijay come in. And it's not described that the four Kumaras go further than that. They actually return to Tapaloka,
In fact,
but they actually went there.
Narayana comes to the gate.
Yes. They see him and everything like that. But still, they don't go beyond that.
Correct.
They don't go further. So, in that same sense, Siddhaloka, like Tapaloka, those Gyanis that have the fortune to get the hunger, the greed, the rag, because we've understood already that rag means thirst for direct association with Krishna. Then those Gyanis become qualified to become the ashraya, the abode of rag. And with that qualification of being the abode of rag, then they have ultimately the opportunity to associate with Krishna. It doesn't say if it's in Vrindavan or if it's in Dwarka or if it's in Mathura. It doesn't say specifically which place it is. So there are going to be distinctions there.
Maharaj, what type of liberation did you tell they attain?
Sayuja.
Here you see
Sayuja Mukti. There's four types of liberation. Listen.
No. Here,
Sarupya, Samipya, Sharsti, and Salokya.
I understand that.
And then there's the fifth type, which we understand that Kamsa got. Sayuja, that is merging into the bodily effulgence of Krishna.
But here they're saying some of them obtain Sarupya Bhas. Sarupya, not Sayujya.
Oh. Where does it say that? I'm just looking.
The Jnani Bhaktas means on page 491.
I'm looking.
Down. The Jnani Bhaktas merge into the Brahman existence, and so do Krishna's enemies when he personally killed them. Some of them obtain Sarupya Bhas.
Just hold it. Let's read from this paragraph again.
Okay.
Okay, I'll read. The words Tad Gatim Gata mean that many people have attained the supreme. It is important to have a clear understanding of this sentence. A single ray of sunlight, Kiran, and the sun itself are one and the same substance, Vastu. Similarly, Brahm and Krishna are also one and the same substance. Brahm is simply Krishna's bodily effulgence. The Jnani Bhaktas merge into that Brahm existence, and as do Krishna's enemies. So Krishna's enemies only merge into the Brahmajyoti. They don't go across into the realm of Vaikuntha. How can that possibly be? They remain in that Brahmajyoti. That's called Sayuja Mukti, or not Swarupyam. That's called Sayuja. The Jnani Bhaktas merge into the Brahma existence, and so do Krishna's enemies when he has personally killed them. Some of those obtain Sarupya Bhav. So that's different from Sayuja. Kamsa will attain Sayuja, and others will attain Sarupya.
And it's called
Sarupya is a Vaikuntha liberated condition.
Maharaj, it's not just Sarupya, it's Sarupya Bhas.
So yes, a semblance.
Semblance, not
That's
full.
not in Vaikuntha directly.
A semblance of Sarupya, or having a form similar to Bhagwan.
Some of them attain Sarupya Abbas, a semblance of Swarupya. So that's a grade up from, or rather a grade down from Sarupya liberation, one of those four principal liberations of Vaikuntha. So Sarupya, or having a form similar to Bhagavan's. Sarupya means having the same bodily features. All the residents of Vaikuntha, they all have the same bodily features as
Narayan.
Narayan, but with different weapon, conch, etc. They're holding in their hands in a different way. So some of those will attain an abbas of that form. This is what it's saying directly. And remain immersed in the bliss of Brahm. That means they can't have the full Vaikuntha seva to Lord Narayan if they're staying in the bliss of Brahman or Brahm. How can that be? They're immersed, and that bliss of Brahm is described as Shantaras by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He describes it as a position of neutrality. I think what I'm appreciating here is the great variety of individual jivas and their adhikas to attain different locations and goals. It's not that all at all are moving in the same direction. It's very much this vaishishya, this speciality of all these different personalities. So some, it's saying, and remain immersed in the bliss of Brahm. That's why it's Abbas. That's why it's not Sarupya directly. If it was Sarupya directly, they would be like the description of Gop Kumar in Brihat Bhagavatamrita, where Gop Kumar goes to Vaikuntha and he's serving all those with those residents of Vaikuntha, and he has a form, Sarupya, the same as the residents, although Gop Kumar keeps his own form, but all the other residents have a form the same as Krishna. But that's not Swarup Abbas. So here it's Swarup Abbas. According to the Brahmand Purana, they stay in Siddhaloka, the liberated world beyond the material world. Okay, so Siddhaloka is beyond the material world. It's the first planet on the other side of the Viraja River. And that's where those with Sarupya Abbas remain. And they are like Jnani Siddhas, or Jnani Bhaktas, it's been referred to here. But Jnanis, they've perfected their Jnana, but they haven't perfected their affection and attraction to Krishna. Now it's going to say in the next paragraph that some of these souls residing in Siddhaloka get the adhikar by the greatest fortune to become the ashraya of rag.
Now,
It doesn't explain how, but it says, let's read it. Two kinds of jivas reside in Siddhaloka. So we've come stage by stage by stage. Now we've come to Siddhaloka. Those who have attained perfection through the cultivation of knowledge, Gyan Siddha, and the Asuras. So the Asuras are going to remain there forever. They can't go beyond that. But the ones who have attained that place through Gyan, they're going to be offered an opportunity, like the four Kumaras, to actually go beyond that. This is what it's saying. Who have been killed by Sri Bhagavan. Amongst these Jnani Siddhas, so these are not the Asuras, these are the Jnani Siddhas, some who are extremely fortunate become the Ashraya of Rag. It doesn't describe how they got that fortune, but Krishna's is a Chintya, um, his, uh, his Swarup Shakti can arrange anything depending on the particular individual jiva's sincerity. He can arrange anything. What? I'm trying to understand it. So, what question are you asking me?
no, like you were telling how the people in Siddhaloka will attain the ashraya of rag.
Yes,
Actually,
I
there
haven't
is,
said how. I said it doesn't say how.
yeah,
It just says that they attain the fortune. So, are you going to tell me how?
yeah, because I've heard one
Tell me.
story where, do you remember one rishi? He keeps meditating, and his bones, on the bones he sits. That is in Siddhaloka, and Narada Muni comes and blesses him. I don't remember the.
Sits on which bones?
He has meditated for so many yugas and is sitting on his bone and meditating. Means he's shedding his body. Uh, and that happens in Siddhaloka. That time,
So Narada Muni comes and liberates that particular soul.
so
Yes.
yeah,
So Narada Muni can be the cause of a Jnani Siddha attaining a higher
Ash-
destination,
yeah,
because it's described in the previous paragraph. They had, some of them obtain Sarupya Abbas.
Abbas.
So these are the ones that we're talking about. So yes, Narada Muni is described when he comes through the airwaves also. The dust from his lotus feet can reignite from the Brahmajyoti itself
Yes.
those jivas who are contained in the Brahmajyoti. Amongst these Jnani Siddhas, some are extremely fortunate because the ashraya of Rag, abode of attachment for Krishna, and they worship his lotus feet and thus obtain the ultimate aim of Krishna Prem by the mercy of Narada Muni. But this Krishna Prem is not Braja Prem. This Krishna Prem is quite distinct from Braja Prem. To actually develop that Braja Prem, one must be in contact directly with the followers of the gopis in that gopi anugatya to actually obtain that Shuddha Braja Prem.
So that's higher in Krishna Prem.
Much higher, so much higher. Krishna's Prem is just for Krishna. That Krishna Prem can be included in Lord Narayan. You're just worshipping Lord Narayan. But Braja Prem is the Prem ultimately for Sri Radhika, who is Krishna's own bhakti. This is much, much higher than Krishna Prem. Krishna Prem can be attained in the Vaikunthas, in Mathura, in Dwarka. They all have Krishna Prem. They all have unflinching devotion towards Krishna. But that is nothing like the gift that Mahaprabhu has come to give of Madhurya. All of this Krishna Prem is in Aishwarya, because when they're worshipping Krishna, they're seeing him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like in Dwarka and Mathura, that's their vision. They don't see him as them to nourish. Like in Vrindavan, their mood is to protect Krishna, is to help Krishna, to feed Krishna. They don't feel for a single moment that Krishna is God. Occasionally, the gopis, they say he's God simply because they heard it from Purnamasi, but they never, even in their dreams, believe that actually he's God. Otherwise, how could they perform their pastimes? But these with Krishna Prem, they fully believe that Krishna is God. Like Uddhav, like I've just described, when Uddhav comes to Vrindavan, he fully believes that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So why are you weeping when Krishna is actually the Lord of everybody? Why are you thinking that he's your son? But Nanda Baba cannot shift from his nishta. His Vatsalya Bhav is so thick for Krishna. And this mood is much, much, much higher than the mood of someone in Aishwarya Bhav. So much higher than that. This is pure, the highest Brijabasi mood. So this we have to become familiar with through studying particularly the 10th canto, particularly the Ras Leela chapters. Because in Krishna Prem, Krishna is always the supreme controller. But in Braja Prem, those Premi Bhaktas, they are the controllers. They are controlling Krishna by the extent and power of their love for him. Krishna is submissive to the love of his Premi Bhaktas. He's submissive to that love. So it's a much sweeter, much richer taste that Krishna is experiencing in Vrindavan. That's why Braj manifests. And that Braj is called Madhurya, full sweetness. But the sweetness of Dwarka is very limited. When you're worshipping someone with great awe and reverence, just like it's given in Bhagavatam, the example Prabhupada gives of a high court judge. A high court judge has the whole courtroom are honoring him and worshipping him. What sort of sweet relationship can he actually have with any of them when they have so much mood of majestic honor for him? There can be no real sweetness in that relationship. But when he comes home at night, that same high court judge, he's taken off all his robes, like Krishna takes off his Aishwarya. And the high court judge is crawling on the floor like a donkey, and his grandson is riding on his back. That is complete sweetness compared to the Aishwarya in the court. So that's a very clear analogy and example of the distinction between Aishwarya. So this Krishna Prem, that these Sarupya Abbas can, by some fortune of Narad or any of these great rishis that are liberated in the Vaikuntha worlds, because not all the rishis that we hear about, like Angira Rishi, like Pavat Rishi is in Vaikuntha, but who else? What other great? Vashishtha Rishi, he's in this material world. Most of these Sapta Rishis, they are Atri Rishi, Jamadagni. These are rishis within this material world. They're not across the Viraja River into the transcendental world. But Narada Rishi is. So Narada Rishi, he has the capacity to actually, he's always looking compassionately to help the conditioned souls. So in that realm of Siddha Loka, he can detect those with the adhikar to support Krishna Prem, and he can actually bring them then. This is what I'm understanding from this. Right.
According to Brahmanda Purana, they stay in Siddhaloka, the liberated world beyond the material world.
Yes,
How can that be?
we've just discussed. Why are you asking?
Maharaj,
You're going back again. We've just walked
no,
through from
my
Siddhaloka.
question is, if you see the planetary systems,
And Siddhaloka is outside of this
no,
material. It's saying here.
you see the Bhagavatam, the last planet in the material world is Satyaloka, Brahmaloka.
Yes, not Siddhaloka. Siddhaloka is the first loka on the other side of the Viraja River.
Are you sure?
This is what we've just read. This is what we've been talking about for the last 20 minutes, Baba.
No, that
And
is
now you're going back again saying that Siddhaloka is in this world. We already discussed that they had liberation beyond the Brahmajyoti.
because here in Bhagavatam it's saying in Siddhaloka there are Siddhis who have attained Anima, Lagima.
Yes,
So those are all material Siddhis.
yes.
How can they be in next to Viraj, above the Viraj?
In the same sense that the four Kumaras transcended this material world from Tapaloka and reached the Vaikunthas. Previously, I had considered that Siddhaloka was in this realm, but I'm understanding from this that Siddhaloka is the first planetary system on the other side of the Viraja River. So if someone can tell me directly and shastrically this distinction, then I will listen conclusively. But it's saying here, it's indicating two kinds of jivas reside in Siddhaloka. It's not saying the Siddhaloka in this, what is it? It's saying, according to the Brahman Purana, they stay in Siddhaloka, the liberated world, beyond the material world. What does that mean? It means beyond the material world. It doesn't mean in this material world, does it? So why are you asking that question? Why are you saying that then?
Because when you see the map,
Don't worry about that. See this. It's saying that Siddhaloka is beyond the material world. All right? Otherwise, it'll just get too confusing if you bring in this and bring in that and bring in this and bring in that.
yeah,
It's saying beyond the material world is Siddhaloka. And in Siddhaloka, there are two types of jivas. Those who are
Jnana
asuras
Siddhas and
will remain in that Siddhaloka. But there are some who, by the mercy of Narad or the mercy of some great personality from Vaikuntha, can be infused with the conception of rag, attraction to Krishna, and achieve Krishna Prem. which we've discussed is nothing like as high as Brajaprem. So leave it there. That's as far as I can do. And let's move on. So,
As
wait a minute. Amongst these Jnani Siddhas, some who are extremely fortunate become the Ashraya Rag, abode of attachment for Krishna, and they worship his lotus feet and thus obtain the ultimate aim of Krishna Prem. That means Vaikuntha Prem. In this way, they gain entry into the group of Krishna's dear associates. Anyone within Vaikuntha realm is Krishna's dear associates. This is like Salokya. They reside on the same planet with Krishna. These are the liberations in Vaikuntha. So there are many, many, many considerations here. We're talking about the extreme borderline between the material world and the spiritual world. It's a gray area in a sense. It's not as direct as if from this place you go directly to Goloka Vrindavan, or you go directly to Dwarka, or something of that nature. It's saying these progressive jnanis. The jnanis are using their own like cities, their own mystic cities, to go to that place. Okay?
So this grey area is Viraj River.
No. It's going across the Viraja River or on this side of the Viraja. The Viraja River is a distinct river. It's actually described sometimes as the river of desire. As long as Viraj, what does Viraj mean? Raj means passion. Vi means without passion. It means without desire. On the other side of the Viraja River, there is no desire. Therefore, if there's no desire, how can there be movement of the soul towards any further destination? This is like the Brahmajyoti. When you merge into the Brahmajyoti, you've already crossed the Viraja River. Therefore, you have no material, you have no desire of any sort. Brahmabhuta prasanatma na sochati na kanchati. You have no desire, no hankering. It's described as a neutral zone. So that is the nature of the Brahmajyoti. And then from that plane of existence, it's saying here, if some great fortune happens and Narad can come, then those yogis can actually be elevated to a platform of Sarupya Bas and can be elevated into the Vaikuntha region and attain Krishna Prem and become one of Krishna's associates. That means they break the impersonal cycle. This is all it's saying. They've come out of the Nirvishesh Brahm and they're able to break the Nirvishesh cycle. So we'll leave it there. If you meet another scholar and they can explain more, you can tell me about it. As the sun rays and the sun are considered one substance, similarly, there is no difference between Krishna's bodily effulgence, known as Brahm, and Krishna himself. Don't be confused by this. The bodily effulgence is not directly Krishna, even though it's saying it's Krishna himself. It's two qualities of Krishna. What are those two qualities? Gyan and Vairagya, knowledge and renunciation. And we know that these two qualities, they are not described as qualities. Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes them as attributes. They're not direct qualities like the other four qualities of Krishna. Beauty, there's a personality behind the beauty.
Shri.
Yeah, personality behind the beauty. And fame,
Strength.
there has to be a personality who's famous. And strong, there has to be a personality who's strong. And opulent, there has to be a personality who's opulent. But knowledge, you can find knowledge in a library. Knowledge doesn't have to have a personality behind it. And renunciation, in fact, is a negative quality. It's not a positive thing. It's a negative aspect. So these two qualities make up the impersonal Brahmajyoti. There has no personal qualities within the Brahmajyoti. So, and those who merge into the Brahmajyoti, they don't have any desires. That's why they remain there forever. That's why it's so dangerous to actually attempt to go into that direction. But here it's saying that on that other side of the Viraja River, then at a planetary system that is somewhat above the Brahmajyoti is Siddhaloka, where some yogis can attain. And from that position, if they're touched by a great sadhu, they can be elevated to Krishna Prem. That's Siddhaloka. That's on the other side of the Raja River. The words Tat Gatim means attaining Tat, Krishna, Krishna Gati. The Gyanis and the Asuras achieve Sayuja Mukti. That means, now here it's saying Gyanis, it's not saying Gyani Siddhas. So
Gnani Bhaktas.
it doesn't say Gyani Siddhas also, like it said previously, Gyani Siddhas. It doesn't say Gyani Bhaktas. It just says Gyanis. So these Gyanis, I can assume, are the yogis. We've had Gyani Bhaktas, Gyani Siddhis, and now we're having Gyanis. So is everyone bewildered by these expressions? Try not to be. Try to understand the traditional description that I gave, that a Gyani is someone who realizes Krishna's Aishwarya, a Gyani Bhakta is someone who can go to Vaikuntha because he realizes Krishna's opulence. But a Gyani are these persons here. The Gyanis and the Asuras achieve Sayuja Mukti. The Gyani wants to merge into the body. This is like moksha or liberation. He wants to merge into that. And the demons, because of their total absorption in Krishna, and the great example, of course, is Kamsa. Kamsa, every time he looked in the mirror, he could just see, he was just thinking of Krishna. He couldn't even see his own form in the mirror. So he was totally absorbed in Krishna. The Gyanis and the Asuras achieve Sayuja Mukti, and both attain Brahm. That means the Brahmajyoti, which is the rays of Krishna's effulgence, Krishna Kiran. The Shuddha Bhaktas, these are pure, develop prem and attain service to Krishna, who is the root of all existence. Now, we're going back to the previous verse, which we did a couple of days ago. By removing bhaya, fear, dvesh, envy, sneha, and bhakti from the above mentioned list of 6 characteristics, this goes back to the verse on top of page 491, when it says, many people have attained the supreme by complete absorption of the mind in devotion through lusty desires, envy, fear, or affection. Right? So we're referencing this verse now. The Shuddha Bhaktas develop prem and attain service to Krishna, who is the root of all existence. Now, by removing bhaya, dvesh, sneha, and bhakti from the above mentioned list of 6 characteristics, we are left with calm and sambandha. Now, this is the whole point that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is building to. All of that, what we described, is like a previous consideration. He's building to the point to describe calm anuga and sambandha anuga within the realm of Vrindavan. This is what he's building to describe. And he's gone through all this description of the different yogis, the different siddhis, siddhaloka, etc., 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 to come to this particular point. Therefore, calm and sambandha are the only bhavs that are applicable in rag marg. Thus, there are 2 types of ragamaya bhakti, calm rupa and sambandha rupa. Okay, we stop there. So today was very intense in these descriptions, but I think it's good. Anything that makes us think beyond, just simple aspects. But don't presume, oh yes, now I know it all. You don't know anything. We are in process of praying for the mercy of Krishna to reveal these truths. But I know I've sketched out a skeleton of actually what is the correct understanding of these different types of Gyani Bhaktas, Gyani Siddha, and Gyanis. This I've described fully. And the location of Siddhaloka on the other side of the Viraja River, because this is what it's saying here, beyond the material world. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is presenting this conclusion. If you read in some Purana and another conclusion has been presented, you're going to become very confused. At the moment, we're going with Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and we'll accept this very simply. But basically, what it's describing to us is the vast variety and different goals and destinations of all the unlimited billions of jivas that they can attain, because not all jivas want to attain Krishna Prem, Not all jivas want to attain Dwarkadish or Mathuresh or even Vrindavan. It's all very, very selective. So here we'll stop. And the next question, what is the Swarup, intrinsic characteristic of Kam Rupa Bhakti? So now we come more into the realm of the Braja Gopis. So now we've moved out of the Vaikuntha aspect and the knowledge aspect, the Aishwarya aspect through these 3 paragraphs, and we should have built somewhat of an appreciation for the speciality of Braj. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai,
Jai.
Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai,
Jai.
Go
Hari
Premanande,
Hari
Hari
Hari.
Hari Bo, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa
Kripa
Sindhavevacha,
Patitanam
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Vaishnava.
Vaishnave Namo Namaha.